Hey Ubers, how you doing? Well, I've been taking some time out the last, I don't know, week and a half, trying to keep offline quite a bit. I've been doing a lot of gardening, a lot of outdoor stuff, but I've also been doing a lot of painting, and I've also been doing, I've been watching a lot of art documentaries and that sort of thing, on the graffiti art scene, and just a whole bunch of stuff. I watched a really interesting film called Who the Fuck is Jackson Pollock? It was quite interesting. It's about this lady that was given this Jackson Pollock that someone had found at a garage sale, and it's a true story, and it's about her trying to prove that this is a real Jackson Pollock. And by all accounts, it seems that it is. There's a fingerprint on the back that's his, but no one's taking it serious, even though there's scientific backing to say that, you know, it's pretty certain that it is a Jackson Pollock, even when they took some paint samples. But yeah, great film, blah, blah, blah. So I recommend that one. I watched a really cool documentary on Jean-Michel Basquiat, and I've seen a couple different documentaries. The one that I really love and the one that I own is a documentary by Julian Schnabel, you know, the famous artist. But the one that I watched the other day was, I don't know who produced that now, Tamara someone, but it's called The Radiant Child, and it's just all about Basquiat, lots of interviews, him talking about basically it's just about his art career and how he became known. You know, he started off as a graffiti artist in the street, just writing stuff. He got discovered, and you know, I remember the first time I ever heard the story of him going into a restaurant and approaching Andy Warhol with his little, you know, works on paper that were like a postcard that fit in his back pocket. And for that's what really started me wanting to create small works. And because I was inspired by Basquiat and that whole romantic notion of if I ever became destitute and homeless, then, you know, I could make these little artworks and stand on the street and try and sell them, you know. It's something, probably wouldn't, but there's something really cool just about that thought of, you know, creating these raw pieces of art that, you know, you sell for $5 just so you can buy some food or something. I think that's really cool. But after watching this documentary, you know, there's I picked up a lot of things in the film that, you know, reminded me of Francis Bacon. And Bacon and Basquiat have a lot of similarities in some ways. For example, Basquiat was talking about, you know, they asked him, so what inspires you to paint? And it was like, you know, it could be anything. It could be a magazine clipping, it could be an image he sees, it could be a piece of music, and, you know, similar thing to what Bacon said, you know, he was inspired by the same thing, magazine clipping, a picture that he saw in a gallery, or, you know what I mean? And I think for a lot of artists, that's, you know, when people ask you what are you inspired by, we all try and think, well, oh, blah, 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 I'm inspired by this. But probably most of us are inspired by some sort of image that we see, or there's something that, you know, something that nothing has to inspire us. It could be anything, you know what I mean? There's no great big explanation to it. We can be, I'm inspired by my chaos. I find images all the time that, you know. Another thing that I really enjoyed about hearing about Basquiat and his process, because he was asked, you know, so how do you create a painting? You know, how do you do it? And it was, well, he goes, well, I just put a lot of information down. I put a lot of information down, and then I take it back, and then I do it again. That wasn't exact words, but that's what he was saying. And, you know, I thought that was really interesting. And when I took a Jesse Reno class, for me, Jesse Reno and Basquiat have very similar styles to that process of putting a lot of information down, a lot of symbols, a lot of colours, working with their hands, paint. So there's that correlation of that particular style. And then knocking it back with one colour, like creating a negative shape by using like just one colour, and then once again coming over with more information, more you know what I mean, to create another layer, and then knocking it back with another plain colour. And I think that's where probably a lot of artists that are trying to do that sort of style go wrong. They don't put enough information down first. You've sort of got to overkill it. You've got to put lots of symbols, you've got to put lots of colours, you've got to do lots of little doodles and drawings. You know, you really got to overkill it and then come back with a plain colour or several colours. Mix it with your hands and then, you know, block it out. And in a way that, you know, the messiness and the drawings and all that become the positive shape, and then by toning it down by using just plain colours, that creates a negative shape. So in fact, you know, you're playing with positive and negative shapes throughout the whole process of the painting. And I think where Reno and Basquiat differ is that even though they have similar styles of how they do things, the imagery is different. Basquiat took images from history, you know, famous paintings, famous artists, you know, Charles Darwin. He, you know, about what was going on in the news. You know, there was some political paintings. You know what I mean? There was a lot of stuff. He would act out scenes, you know. Whereas for me, Reno, he takes characters from his imagination, whether it's sort of a bear creature or some sort of lizard thing, and you know, his world is created of what's going on in here, whereas Basquiat was sort of created his world, what was going on from out there, and he took all of that information out there and translated it into his own language, which is what we all as artists try to aspire to. We all try to interpret the world in our own way to make it interesting. But yeah, I've just been pretty inspired by watching that documentary, and you know, it's made me take some time to think about my own work, and I guess that's what's inspired me to do these last few paintings that have really pushed me to do that. And for me personally, you know, I got a question the other day saying, oh, you know, I'm sort of turned off by the imagery that you use. I love your style and I love everything you do, but your images are a little bit, I don't know, I guess dark or a bit, you know, depressing or whatever. I mean, I use a skeleton. We all have skeletons, don't we? Okay, so for me, to understand me, you really have to understand that the images that I use aren't for a particular reason. They're random. I select images because it's a spur of the moment thing. When I'm making the work, it's not about the images. It's never about the images. It's about the actual process of working. It's the actual act of doing it, of thinking, okay, I need to make this area darker. I need to put more depth in this area here. And I'm doing this all subconsciously. But, you know, and the reason I've been using the skeletons is because when I group them together, they create like a massive dark, like a tonal, it's about the tonal darkness of them on the actual canvas as a group. And you know what? I could do anything. It doesn't have to be skeletons, but for me at the moment, it creates that tonal. And I actually kind of look at my work in an abstract way, even though I'm using realistic type figurative images, you know what I mean? I'm looking at it in terms of the color balance and how everything fits rather than what images that I'm using. because it's about the process for me. It's not about the images that I use. Which, you know, but I mean, I can't say that 100%. I'll do a painting where I want to use you know, create specifically something that I want to say. But generally, no. Randomness is what I live by. Randomness is what I love. For me, spontaneity and just grabbing images and pulling them in is really, for me, the excitement about creating a piece of art. I'm not so much interested in telling a story as such. But at the end of the day, I do find the story in the work. But that's half the fun, is trying to create the story after you've made the work. So I guess that's where, you know, and I guess a lot of artists do that, don't we? A lot of us that work intuitively don't really know what we're doing until the end, and then we got to go, well, oh, well, maybe, yeah, that could be happening. Yeah, you know what I mean? Or you ask your fans, what do you think this is trying to say? And then you pick the best one and use it. But it's really quite interesting to get into artists' heads and to find out where they're coming from. And, you know, Basquiat and Bacon are, for me, really fascinating people on so many levels that, you know, I can overlook all of the negative things about them, like Basquiat was druggo and blah blah blah, and Bacon was just a masochistic, blah, 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 I can't even say it now, masochistic, you know, blah blah blah, he was a real prick, and you know what I mean? I can overlook that because of the genius and the lessons I've learnt from their art and from their wisdom. They have taught me more and helped me more than what their negativity has done for me. So, you know what I mean? I like it. I just like them. But anyway, the end of this month, I'm having an open studio weekend. I've just decided I have so much art, so much medium to large art, and I just need to get rid of some of the stuff. And I was really thinking I'm just going to have another bloody bonfire and just burn the lot and just start afresh. But I know how much shit that caused last time, so I'm not going to do that, alright? So chill out. Chillax. So I'm going to have an art sale at the end of the month. I'm documenting it on my blog, so you can check that out. I'll put the link down in the bottom. And I am basically going to create a Facebook events page, create some flyers. I've created an online gallery on my website showing all the works that I'm going to be selling. So for people that want to pre-order one that they like, then they can do that. The option's there. I'm going to have, you know, I want to have a live painting demonstration there as well. But if I can, hopefully I can rope a couple of friends in to come and help me run it, then that would be great. I don't know how it's going to go. We'll just wait and see. But, you know, I just need to do something. And that is my story for today. Been beautiful weather the last couple of days. Like I said, I've been out in the garden. Just getting back to nature. Tomorrow I'm going on a big hike up the mountain, which I'm going to take you along. And I'm looking forward to that. Anyway, I'm about time because it's almost 15 minutes, but yeah. Anyway, that's my story. Have a great day. Later.